Have a couple of more minutes for some people to join us as they try to log in. Really excited. Oh. Caleb, Jason, all right. We're up to 70 people. So one more minute and then we can get started. Since we're recording it, people can come back and watch it. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Good afternoon. I am Celia Glowacki, Advocacy and Literacy Officer for National FFA. Welcome to the 2020 National Ag Day programming. In prior years, NAMA and ACA, along with AFA, MANNRS, 4-H, and FFA, have selected 100 students to receive training similar to this in Washington, D.C. Due to COVID-19, we have the unique opportunity to change how you, as agriculturalists, receive National Ag Day training. And we get to open this up to anyone who wants to tune in. I appreciate you joining us as we try to flatten the curve while broadening our reach. First, I'd like to thank NAMA and ACA for sponsoring National Ag Day and National Ag Week. It's vital for the government to learn about the importance of agriculture. And while we know our elected officials are a little busy with the COVID-19 concerns, the 5 sessions you'll be part of are something we can always use and something we can reflect on and share with these elected officials after we've moved past this difficult time. Additionally, special thanks to our partner organizations, 4-H, AFA, and MANNRS. Having 4 youth organizations focused on agriculture and the education surrounding it will only help convey the importance of our industry. A special thanks to Debbie and Jenny from ACA and NAMA, Emily from AFA, Ebony and Ashante from MANNRS, and Beth from 4-H. As I previously mentioned, we'll have 5 webinars over the next 2 days from 3 wonderful speakers, Jason Wetzler, Caleb Wright, and Reagan Pugh. Today's topics are advocacy, which will start right after these introductions, government relations and advocacy, which will begin at 2:15, and we'll end our day at 3:30 with developing your elevator pitch and starting to build your story at 3:30. All times are Eastern Daylight Time. If you miss one, don't worry. They'll be posted on FFA's Advocacy and Literacy page after. Tomorrow we'll begin at 11 Eastern with a more in-depth storytelling session and finish up at 1 p.m. with discussions on the agriculture, food, and natural resources value chain. We want these sessions to be interactive, so feel free to jump in. There's a raise hand icon or a chat function, and we found out that the Q&A section also works really, really well. So make sure that you use those. We're also monitoring these questions and comments, so please be respectful to everyone. Additionally, if you stick around for the 3 Monday sessions, make sure you complete each session's activity to be entered into a drawing for prizes from our sponsors and partner organizations. We'll get that information to you in a little bit. Oops. So I think I jumped ahead. Apologies. With that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and welcome in Jason Wetzler.
What's up? Am I able to do it now? Not quite.
It's all you.
Okay, let's see. Let's go to share. My screen is not working.
Nope. Hold on.
Practice this, I promise, guys.
Hold on.
Okay.
And with us.
There we go. There we go.
There you go.
I'm not the presenter. All right, y'all. Hey, welcome. My name is Jason. I am ecstatic to be here virtually with all of you. Man, what a crazy world we live in. But we're not going to talk about any of that going on today because we have some important stuff to cover. Now, I'll say this. I found some cool things out about this WebEx tool. One of those is they have this thing called the check attention, and I can see it's like a little red button, and I can check the attention of everyone watching, which is crazy. Now, I'm not like gonna like Big Brother or anything, but I thought, you know what the button did. So I thought when I press it, it would like make a siren go off of your computer, like check your attention. But it doesn't. It just tells me how many people are looking at Facebook versus looking at the screen. But that's kind of funny. But hey, we're gonna have some fun today. I'm a full-time speaker, leadership trainer, FFA dude. I'm in my mom's ag room right now. She's an ag teacher. And so that's where I'm at. I got my FFA cup. And so I pretty much bleed blue and gold. My crib was lined in corduroy, as they might say. So I'll say this. I've struggled with the whole, I'm an extrovert. I don't know if you can tell. I've struggled with the whole not people thing. So if I get a little excited, someone just chat, hey, Jason, slow down. A couple of things we'll need for my session. We'll need this notes page right here, okay? It's sent. If you go to the chat bar, you can check a link that Celia sent, FFA WebEx sent to all participants. You can download it there. We will need that for this time together. So download that now if you have not yet. You should be able to fill it in with your preview app if you're using a Mac, or maybe it'll transfer to the Microsoft Word application. So yeah, well, you'll need that. Secondly, we're going to use the chat function heavily throughout this session. I'm a big discussion person. I'm a big engagement person. And so it's going to be fun to have all of us in this together talking. I'm trying to figure out how many people there are right now. It doesn't show me on my minimized screen. But however many of us there are, we're hopefully going to all be in this together. So National Ag Day. Big takeaways, everything Celia said, and these are things I think that myself, Caleb, and Reagan, what we're going to be talking about, these are some things that I think apply not only to advocating, not only to talking to professionals, not only to communicating with legislators and elected officials, but apply to your everyday life. And so our role as speakers is to give you content that you could plug in an agricultural advocacy situation, but that you could also plug in, advocating for yourself in a job interview in the future, advocating for yourself on a first date with someone you really like. Okay, these are real life situations, and we want to give you actual good content that's applicable to not only just agricultural advocacy. So with that, let's dive in. I'm going to do something I've never done before, and maybe never done before in the history of the earth. And we're going to do a little bit of a virtual icebreaker. So it's going to involve every single one of you looking at me through your computer screen or phone right now. And here's how it'll work. We're going to do a little bit of a virtual get to know you. How it'll look is when I say go, we are all going to type our preferred social media. Can I edit the downloaded file? I'm so ADHD. This is going to be bad for me. I need to stop looking at the chat. You should, edit, do whatever you want. That's yours. You can even sell it. It's not worth much, but you can if you want. So what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that our chat's selected to all participants, and we're going to type our preferred social media and then our username. And then once we have a good bank of social media platforms like Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, whatever, and our username next to it, we're going to choose another person in the chat, and we're going to send them 2 pictures of ourselves or of our lives that describe who we are. So maybe that's a picture of you and your dog, because your dog is everything to you. Maybe it's a picture of you and your girlfriend, because she's the best person in your life and she makes you a better person. Whatever it is, okay? Maybe it's you and your cows, because we all love cows, okay? So I see the username starting to come in. A lot of Instagram right now. Any old people on Facebook? Just kidding. Throwing shade. Oh, Snapchat. Okay. All right, let's make sure we're staying positive in there. Wow. And then you guys just choose social media platform, one username. You may have multiple people messaging you at one time. Oh man, there's a national officer on there. Feel free to check us out at, Twitter, Instagram. Got advisors participating. I love it. And we're going to just take about 4 minutes, and I'm going to be doing this too. I got my phone. Instagram at Jason Wetzler. Who knows? You may get some followers from this. You may make a friend. We got some FFA pages. Yeah, the directions are choose your favorite social media platform, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, whatever. And then type your username next to it. We're going to choose someone's username that we don't know, and we're going to send them 2 pictures that describe our life, whether it's us and our cows, you and your family, you at church, whatever it is for you. We got some, she said, I'm an agricultural reporter. So we'll take 3 to 4 minutes right now, exchanging those photos of our lives, describing who you are. Feel free to chat a little bit with those people, get to know them, create a little bit of a National Ag Day community here. Yep. Send the photos through that platform. So Instagram messaging or Twitter DM, you may have to follow that person. Snapchat, you can Snapchat that person. A couple minutes, we'll do that. Hopefully for you extroverts, this gives you guys some interaction that you may be needing. Let's see if anyone's messaging me. Hold on. Nope, no one has messaged me. That's fine. That's cool. I'm not upset about that. That's fine. That Jason Wetzler, by the way. You guys can see my screen right here. Excited to see some of these reactions. Anyone else need their directions repeated? Feel free to raise your hand. All right. No worries. Oh, you can do emojis on this? Oh, I need to figure out how to do that. Okay, focus. Here's what we're doing. Choosing a username from the chat, and we're going to send that person via that social media platform next to their username 2 photos that describe our life. So I may Instagram message Nate Scoble a picture of my dog, Lucy, who is adorable. Feel free to follow that person, get to know him. Hey, Bennett. All right, guys, just 1 minute left, 1 minute of this left, and we're going to move on to some content here. While you guys finish that up, I just want to take a second, set a little bit more context. So this first session, what I'm covering is basic advocacy. So we have like an advocacy Jedi on our team. His name is Caleb, and his whole life is just centered around advocacy. And he knows every trick in the book. And so he's going to dive deep into that today. My job is just to introduce what we have at FFA is the advocacy model. And so that's what I'll be teaching. This is how much I don't use social media. I love it, man. This is great. This is awesome. I did not know how this would go, but I think it's been a success. Looks like we still need another minute or so, and that's totally fine. We'll also get to hear from Reagan Pugh. Okay, he is a world-renowned storyteller, and he is going to help us understand our audience in a really effective way, in a really tangible way, so we can communicate our message and advocate for agriculture the best we can, which we know right now is especially important. All right, y'all, just another minute here. Oh, and we also have who kind of the person pulling all the strings for all of us at National FFA on staff is Celia Glacki, and she has been kind of heading this entire thing from the get-go. Took me this long just to figure out chat. Laugh out loud. All right, so I'm going to move on, guys. And so if you've sent some messages, some people made some connections, that's fantastic. That's my goal. I just want to make sure that we're building a bit of a community here across the country, even virtually. And so thank you so much for participating in that and diving into that. I really appreciate it. We're going to jump into the advocacy content that we have to teach. Now, again, if you think, I don't really talk to elected officials that much, or, to me, I advocate in a kind of an introverted way. I'm kind of quiet about my messaging, or I don't really like to shove my opinions in people's faces. Just know that's not advocacy. So what I'll ask from everyone right now is just to wipe your slate clean of what you think advocacy is. We have an opportunity to learn about advocacy in a new way, in a different way, in a time where advocating for agriculture is incredibly important. At a time where grocery stores are struggling to stock the shelves, and people think there might be a food shortage, but really it's probably just a supply chain or a labor issue, right? So advocating and getting the right message to the end consumer is incredibly vital. And so one thing that I do, no matter if I'm talking about advocacy or goal setting or leadership, or wherever I'm speaking on, is I always have what I call my essential question. Now, an essential question, oh yeah, I forgot I had a slide for this. My bad, y'all. That would have helped out a lot, wouldn't it? Well, there you go. That was what we just did. Good job. Move this over here. So an essential question is something that if we answer this question throughout our time, then we will be successful. So really quick, an essential question, and a question is essential when it covers these 6 areas. And feel free to summarize this on your notes page where it says an EQ in my own words is. So it causes genuine and relevant inquiry into the big ideas and core content. It provokes deep thought, lively discussion, sustained inquiry, and new understanding, as well as more questions. So essentially, when we ask this question, an answer is not the first thing. It's not what's 2 + 2. That's not an essential question. It's a deep question that will provoke discussion, have probably a lot of different perspectives brought forth, and really our end goal with it is to figure out what other questions do we need to ask now. It requires those answering to consider alternatives, weigh evidence, support their ideas, and justify answers. And I think that's huge there at the end. You have to be able to justify your answers. I think especially nowadays when we advocate or when we share opinions or when we try to convince people of our perspective, it's so often we say our perspective, but it's hard for us to justify what that is because we've not done the work. It stimulates vital, ongoing rethinking of big ideas, assumptions, and prior lessons. It sparks meaningful connections with prior learning and personal experiences. And it naturally recurs, creating opportunities for transfer to other situations and objects. All right, I'm going to give you guys 30 seconds right now. Let's go ahead and, in our own words, answer what is an essential question in my own words. And that's the first gray box in your notes page near the top. An EQ, in my own words, is. Let's go ahead and answer that now. 30 seconds. All right, nice work. So I'll tell you guys a quick story. I'm a big storyteller. I love stories, and I think that stories are one of the best ways that we as people can connect with each other. So I was an FFA member. I'm from Oregon originally. I'm in my mom's ag class, for those of you that missed it. Mom's my ag teacher. My stepdad's my other ag teacher. We live on the school farm where the ag classes are taught. So like my house is 20 feet that way through that wall. And I had a chance to actually run for National FFA office twice. Now, why'd I run twice? Because obviously the first time I didn't get it. But looking back, essential questions played a huge role in the outcomes of those experiences. And here's how. The first time I ran for national office, I can tell you that my goal was to get elected national office. Okay, duh, pretty obvious. When my name wasn't called, I was at a loss. To be honest, I didn't know what to do, where to go. And as I was running a second time, my brother happened to be a junior in college, and he was playing baseball at Oregon State University. He got drafted into the Major League Baseball, And he had a choice to make. See, in college baseball, you can either choose to enter after your junior year. If you get drafted, you can choose to enter the professionals, or you can go back to school. So my brother had this choice to make, and it was a big decision, right? And I asked him, I said, Ben, how do you know what you're going to do? I mean, what, like there's a huge decision to make. What are you going to do? And he said, Jason, to me, it doesn't matter. He said the question is not where I'm going to play baseball. The question is whether I'm going to play baseball at all. So for him, it didn't matter whether he was going back to college or going to the pros. For him, it was just about playing baseball. And as long as he could answer that question, he was going to be successful. And so I took a completely different perspective looking at national office the second time. And I started to think, okay, what's the essential question I need to answer about this process? And it was less about how can I get elected national office, and it was more about how can I serve people, which allowed me to view it, hey, whether I get elected national FFA office or whether I get to go back to Oklahoma State University, go Pokes, and serve people there, I get to serve people. And it completely changed the outcome. In fact, to the point where actually I did get elected national office, but then it was still about serving people and not about having an office. And so what essential questions do is they allow us to understand what success looks like. Essential questions help solidify the why behind an experience. And so right now what we're going to do is we're going through an experience together. We're on a virtual National Ag Day. We have 5 sessions we'll cover in the next 2 days, and we've got to understand why we're here. Maybe you're an ag teacher. Maybe you're a freshman. Maybe you're pretty new to the agricultural industry. Maybe you live in downtown Chicago. Maybe you live in the middle of a cornfield in Nebraska. We all have different reasons for being here, but we've got to understand why. So what I'm going to do is we're going to have another minute or minute and a half to write our own essential question. The only thing I'll ask is that our essential question meets the guidelines to the right. So it's got to be a big question that provokes deep thought, lively discussion, and then when you talk through it, you really don't have an answer, you just have more questions. So under the box that says my EQ for advocacy, you're going to write your own essential question. Let's take a minute and do that now. Feel free to ask any questions. Boom. Thank you for that. Is that better? So again, taking that time right now to create our own essential question for advocacy. Someone asked, can I give another example of an essential question? Sure. So the essential question that I asked, right, is how can I serve people? That's a hard question to answer, right? To me, that just gives me some more questions. So another question I might ask, I'll give you an example of my grandma. My grandma is 91 years old. She's an angel of a person. She, the other day, called me, and she was going through some old things and just kind of going through some memories. And she said, Jason, you don't know this, but I was actually a pretty angry person growing up, but I've changed a little bit. I was like, yeah, Grandma, I don't think you're angry at all. She goes, but I've started to help people. But she said, I want to know, how will I know I've lived a good life? So for her, the essential question she's trying to answer right now as a 91-year-old is, how will I know I've lived a good life? That's a big question, right? Something Grandma and I could talk about for hours, something that really doesn't have a finite answer, but is going to allow us to reflect on our prior experiences. It's going to create more questions. We're going to have to justify our answers. Hope, does that help a little bit? So an example for advocacy, right, is without giving away what our next thing is, I think one essential question for advocacy that I might have for myself is, how can I best ensure the participants on this call and on the next 4 calls are equipped to advocate for agriculture? As a presenter, as a speaker, that would be my essential question for our time together. All right. Appreciate y'all doing that. If I'm taking too much time or not enough time, feel free to let me know in the chat. Y'all have been honest thus far, and I appreciate it. Here's our next task. It's a really easy one. We're just going to go ahead and copy down what's in the middle of that screen, the National Ag Day EQ. What can we learn, say, or do now to shape the future of agriculture? What can we learn, say, or do now to shape the future of agriculture? Hey, Marty, there's a link at the very top of the chat that links to the handout, and it's also in this event's document. So for those of us listening right now, so our EQ for advocacy, that's personal, right? What I've done is I've created a National Ag Day essential question that by the end of these 5 sessions, if we've answered this question in whatever way is personal to you, then you know that you've been successful. What can we learn, say, or do now to shape the future of agriculture? So I hope that you have answered that a little bit, but also have some further questions about that question. I hope that sparks some thought, some discussion, connected to some personal experiences for you. And as we go throughout our time, this is how we'll know whether we're on track, as if what we're doing is helping to clarify our essential question. This is usually when I would ask for clarification. We discuss a little bit, but all I see is my screen. So if you guys have questions, feel free to throw them in the chat. But I'm going to go ahead and move on. All right. So this, ladies and gentlemen, and I hope you guys can see it, my chat box is a little in the way, is the FFA advocacy model. For some of us, this may be a review. Maybe you're like, yeah, no, I've seen this, I've worked through this, this is awesome. But for some others, maybe not. So really quick, I took some notes, and I'm actually going to pull those up right now. Because I went through, there's a course that you can take, and we'll talk about that at the end of this session, on advocacy that's offered by FFA. And this will walk you through this on a deep level, okay? FFA defines advocate as a person who upholds and supports a cause. Pretty simple, right? So what I'm going to take us through this advocacy model, and we're going to go ahead and just talk about this really quick, and then we're going to apply something completely bananas in our life. It's going to be awesome. Here, this model will tell us not what advocacy is, but how do we advocate for a specific cause. So the 4 steps: plan, develop, do, and reflect. Let's hit it. Plan. Define the issue / the challenge. Analyze the issue or challenge, and understand the audience. Now, depending on who you ask, this might be one of the most important steps to advocacy. If you ask Reagan, he'll say that understanding your audience is the most important. And I think there's a lot of argument that can be made there. Defining your issue and challenge is the first step, though. Unless we know what we're advocating for, it's really hard to advocate for it. So it'd be like going in to your mom and be like, hey, Mom, I really want, I don't know, but can I have $20? Like, that's not going to work very well, right? Like, she's not just going to give you $20 if it's not going to go towards something purposeful in your life. It's hard to advocate unless you know what you're advocating for. So define the issue, analyze the issue, and understand your audience. I'm going to go ahead and move on. Feel free to copy this down on the arrows on your notes page. If I'm moving too fast, hit me up in the chat box. Determine what the target is. Write objectives. Determine key messages, your talking points. Develop an action plan. Again, I'm just skimming this. So if y'all are like, whoa. What's a target? What's the difference in objectives and key messages? What is all that? Caleb, can everyone else hear things? Is that Mackenzie or is that me? Just to make sure. Okay, sounds good. Sorry, Mackenzie, I'm not sure what's going on with your computer there. Caleb is going to dive deep into this and what this is and the develop aspect of it and how to advocate and talk about, give kind of a master class on this. So if you're a little like, hey, I need some clarity there, no worries. Just make sure we get the basics copied down. So determine the target, write your objectives, your talking points, and develop an action plan. Excuse me, guys. Moving on to do. Move from action to interaction. Man, second tweetable line. If it rhymes, tweet it. I don't care. Move from action to interaction. Collaborate, execute, and raise awareness. This is the do. This is where the rubber meets the road. Okay, we've done a lot of the groundwork. Now we're going into meet with those people, going into advocate. You know, things are physically happening. Okay, we're moving, we're talking, we're working. And finally, reflect. How close were we to our target? Review objectives and implement changes. Educators, this is only going to make sense to you. Yep, Robin, it'll be available to you. Educators, this will make sense to you. If you've seen Kolb's learning model, Kolb's theory of experiential education, this will look familiar to you because it is kind of similar, right? Plan, reflect, do, reflect. Plan, develop, do, reflect. When we get to the end, I think the most important part for anyone listening is that when you advocate one time, you have one conversation, it's not over. You've got to understand how close you were to your target. You got to review your objectives and implement changes, especially in agriculture. We can never stop. It's a never-ending cycle. The reason it's a circle is because in agriculture, there's always going to be another issue that comes forth. There's always going to be more education we can do. There's always going to be things we can talk about. Again, Caleb was going to dive deep on advocacy as a whole, and so I just want to leave it there. Any big questions I can answer about this model? A couple questions right now. Materials you're sharing on the screen be available? Yes, they will be available. I believe Celia will have it uploaded to the resources, and if not, we can do that after this presentation. Any other big questions before I move on? I love it. All right, let's get elementary with it. What is one thing, this is, we come back to you guys typing, what's one thing you really wanted in elementary school that your parents said no to? I am ecstatic to see these responses. Let's see them. One thing that you were like, man, mom, dad, I think this would be a great idea. And they were like, no, it's not. You're 5. Horse, puppy, yeah. Pet cat, oh, that's a bad idea. Travel soccer, okay. A kitten, also a bad idea. More sheep, nope. That's roller skates. Oh, okay. My parents also wouldn't give me a trampoline. Light up Skechers that make you run faster. Also more cows. A puppy stuffed animal. Man, this is hilarious. Chickens. I kind of want to know cows, more cows. That's hilarious. A toy in the toy. Yes, all those things. I'll tell y'all a quick story as answers are coming in. One thing that I did not do a good job advocating for when I was a child, there used to be this soda called Surge. And I think the reason it's no longer around or it's hard to find is it's because it's probably illegal to put into your body. It's like if you mixed one of those Bang energy drinks with a Red Bull and then a 5-hour energy all together, okay? It was a soda, though, so it probably had like 4,000 milligrams of caffeine and like 150 pounds of sugar in it. I don't know. But whenever I drank one as a child, you can see how I am right now. So, like, compress that energy into a 5-year-old body and then give it a Surge, and I was off the walls. So I remember going to Bi-Mart with my mom, and there's a Surge machine, just like all like this glowing yellow neon, like probably toxic, just machine. And every time we leave, I'd ask my mom for a Surge, and she would never give me one. They took Surge off the shelves the same time they took the original Mountain Dew Energy, not Amp, off the shelves. Yeah, it was good. Thank you, Ashley. She knows. And I remember one time, Mom would always say no, but I would always ask. And one time she said no, and I just lost it. I'll tell you, I lost it. I'm not proud of it, but I threw a tantrum. And it was messy. So I'm sitting there right outside of Bi-Mart, throwing a tantrum, and no joke, my mom says, all right, and just left. I was 5 years old, and Mom left me in the Bi-Mart parking lot. We lived about 15 minutes away 30 minutes later, my dad rolls up and says, I guess you had a little bit of a fit. And I'm like, who leaves a 5-year-old in a grocery store parking lot in the middle of town? Well, I probably deserved it. But because I didn't advocate, I did not get what I wanted. If I would have, like, maybe planned and then developed that plan a little bit and then tried to advocate and then maybe reflected on what I had done, it may have gone better. Oh, see where I'm going with this? Here we go. Your task, work with your partner that you connected with earlier on social media, or just work by yourself, and you're going to create an advocacy plan, a really quick one, for one of your elementary causes, okay? We're going to take about 5 minutes to do this. So think about, what did I want in elementary school that I did not get? And if I had to go back and create an advocacy plan for that thing, maybe it's a horse, maybe it was, I'm reading the chat, sorry, I'm getting distracted, a puppy, maybe we could just not advocate for that. I'm a dog person. Maybe it was an ATV, okay, whatever it is. We're going to create an advocacy plan for our elementary cause, okay? Work with your social media partner, chat it up again, or work by yourself, 3 to 5 minutes. We're going to create a really quick advocacy plan right now. Feel free to write that on any blank space on your notes sheet. Throw the questions in the chat box. I'm going to create one as well for Surge. If you got a really good idea or you thought of something really you think creative, go ahead and throw it in the chat box for the rest of us to see. I'll move through these kind of slowly as well. The plan. The first thing you should do is define the issue. What are you advocating for? And you got to understand your audience, which is probably your parents at this point. So do an audience analysis on your parents, which you'll learn how to do in a better way with Reagan later on. Then you'll develop it. What's your objective? Okay. What does success look like? This I think would be the best part. What are your talking points? What are you going to bring to your mom to say, Mom, this is why I need Surge. This is why I promise I won't, jump off the walls if I get it. Here's an action plan. I'll work harder at the barn. I think I actually may have said this. Move from action to interaction. Yeah, let me hear some of the best talking points. What are you going to say to convince your parents? What's the big, going to raise their eyebrows, but they may actually trust you a little bit? We'll move from action to interaction, collaborate, and then raise awareness. Now, I don't mean raise awareness as in make everyone else at Bi-Mart aware of how bad of a child you're being, like I did. I mean, raise awareness isn't help others advocate for your cause. Owning a pet has actual health benefits. True, it does, except for cats. Just kidding. All right, guys, just about another minute. We'll finish up our advocacy plans here. Give them $20. I would live at the barn so they wouldn't have to take care of me or my horse. That's hilarious. I'll stop eating the icing only off the cakes. Some of these sound like more like threats than, but yeah, I think we're getting it. All right, so one last thing I'm going to do. I'm going to tell you guys. So I've showed you how this did not go well. How many of y'all, if you just had, let's type how many siblings you have in the box, on the chat box right now. How many siblings? For me, 4, okay, a lot. 0, 2. So those of you with siblings, and even if you don't have any siblings, you'll probably understand this. If you had any childhood friends growing up, you'll get this. And big family friends, right? We were friends with a family called the Waddells, and there were 6 siblings, and there was 4 in our family. So 10 kids total when these families got together. Okay. We would always scheme to have a sleepover, but we knew it wasn't always possible. Especially like 10 kids, and it's like when a sleepover happened, it was all or nothing, right? And so one time we're at this pizza place, we're playing, and it's getting near the end of the night, and we're having a lot of fun, and we don't want it to end. So JJ and I, the younger brother, we get together and we create an advocacy plan. Now, we didn't know it was called that at the time, for a sleepover. We start going over our talking points. We start talking about how, Katie's been really well behaved and how we'll help her put her to bed. She's my little sister, so she was really little at the time. We start talking about how in the morning we'll help cook breakfast, and we have all these talking points. And then we actually thought back to the last time we had asked and how it didn't go well, because they said, the parents were like, no, we're really tired. It's a lot of y'all, don't worry. And we said, hey, we'll clean up. And so we started bringing these bargaining points to the table. Now, our thing is sometimes mom would say, well, JJ, you can come over, or Jason, you can go over there, but not everyone. But we were like, no, it's got to be all of us. So we knew our target was we had to have all 10 sleeping over. We knew our talking points, and we went up to the parents. And now they knew, right? They knew when JJ and I started sheepishly walking over to them. They knew what we were going to ask. But they were not ready for the plan that we had put in place. We laid down the talking points. We had our objectives clearly defined. Okay? And by the end of our spiel, they were like visibly shocked. And they just looked at each other and said, yeah, that's fine. And we celebrated, man. We high-fived, we chest bumped. It was awesome. Had the best sleepover ever. And that, my friends, is what happens when you put an advocacy plan in place. It's 10:43. I've talked a lot. I hope I've not bored any of you. Here's what we're going to do. There's 2 questions at the bottom of our notes page. And what we're going to do is we're going to answer these, and then we'll go over one last thing. The essential question review. How did this session help answer my essential question? Now, let me say this again. This was a broad session, right? This is pretty broad content. We're going to take a deeper dive into this, and so I won't be offended if you're like, yeah, it's really only had me answer a few questions. We're going to answer these 2 questions. How did this session help answer my essential question? And then how did this session help answer the National Ag Day essential question? So if we look to the top of our paper, you have your essential question and then the National Ag Day essential question. And we're going to go ahead and answer the 2 questions. How did this session help answer those? Okay. We need a reminder what the National Ag Day one is. It's right there. Oh, I can't highlight very well. What can we learn, say, or do now to shape the future of ag? Let's take 2 minutes and answer those questions in our notes, and then we'll close up. Get ready to move on. As we're doing that, just want to say thank you guys for jumping on. If you have questions right now for me, for Celia, Reagan, or Caleb, feel free to throw them in the chat or the Q&A. I can't figure out how to get oh, there we go. More Q&A. I figured it out. Boom. Okay. Never mind, I figured it out. If you have questions for myself or any of the presenters, feel free to throw them in the chat right now. Make sure you guys tune back in a short, I think 30 minutes for Caleb's session, and then later today for Reagan's as well. Tomorrow, I'll be doing a session. It's kind of a hodgepodge, but it's going to be super fun, on the AF&R value chain, the supply chain, which if we've tried to shop for toilet paper, we know is a big hot topic right now. Okay. And then as well as how do we be inclusive of everyone when talking about agriculture and advocating, which is it's going to be a fun hodgepodge of a session. I want to hear some responses in the chat. Get back to the question real quick. Sure thing. National Ag Day question right there. All right, guys. Here, let me get out of the Q&A. What can we learn, say, or do now to shape the future of agriculture? So really quick, I want to have some discussion in our chat box. What did you guys answer to that? What can we learn, say, or do now to shape the future of agriculture? What are some of your answers for that? Joe, I got your question. We'll answer that in a second. Andrew, I got your question. We'll answer that in a second. Okay. Andrew, I think they're separate logon links. And so if you go to the National FFA Facebook post, you'll see all the links. And I think you got to log on separately. So when this concludes, we'll log back on. So Joe asked, some folks say it's better, where'd it go here, to convince others by directing how it will benefit the individual in question and not yourself. What do you think about this? So it's better to convince others by directing how it will benefit the individual in question and not yourself. What do I think about this? I think our Reagan would be great for answering this in his session, but I'll just touch on it a little bit. I think for people to buy into anything, to understand an essential question, which is what's in it for me. Teachers know this. If you're a teacher or if you're a student and you go into math class and they were talking about, calculus or some ridiculous equation, and it's really hard to answer, how will I use this in my life? Or how is this going to benefit me? Then we immediately check out, right? We immediately disengage. We've got to be able, as agricultural advocates, to answer the question for other people, what's in it for you? Which is why it's so important to understand our audience. And I think Reagan's going to touch on that later on. Reagan just said to the panelists, audience understanding is key, spot on. Yep. So he'll dive deep into that. So if you're really interested in that, make sure to tune into Reagan's session for sure. I'm trying to see if there's any other questions. Good job, y'all. So some of the answers, what can we learn, say, or do now to shape the future of ag? Pursue higher levels of education to be able to have our voices heard. Love it. Find targets and objectives that are in your everyday life and face them with a plan. Yeah. Advocate and inform people at local level to those who don't have an agricultural background. Thank you, Olivia Moore. I think in order to better the future of ag in a time like we're in right now, we can start by targeting small businesses that are involved in ag and use them to help us get our voice heard. We can also work with younger, whoa, that's a big message. Hold on, where'd it go? We can also work with younger levels to get to learn. Yeah, thank you, Mackenzie. This week, talk to the phone a few minutes. What can you say and do now? Be a source of true information about agriculture industry, friends, family, and followers by being genuine and open. Love it. Hey, y'all are killing it. As we go throughout the rest of the day, keep the conversation going. You guys have a connection on social media. Keep doing that. We have some hashtags that Celia will cover that we can continue this conversation on via social media. One thing I want to say here is finally our homework session. Celia said that there's some giveaways. We've had some awesome partners partner with us for these giveaways. And so if you're interested in free stuff, which, America, get ready for this. So complete the FFA advocacy module and screenshot for proof. Okay. There's a link here on my screen. You obviously can't click that, but what you can do is go to the FFA, National FFA Facebook page, go to their post about National Ag Day, and on there is all of these resources. If you complete the module and screenshot it, okay, take a picture with your phone, whatever on your computer, and then take a picture of your completed notes page. What? Whether you typed or hand wrote, and then email those to cglowacki@ffa.org by Friday, March 27th. And again, we'll have this posted, so don't worry. But if you want to take a picture of this screen right now so you know what your homework is, go ahead and do that. I'll leave it up here. Hey, thank you so much. I appreciate you guys. If I can connect with you or help you in any way, my social media stuff's at the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. Feel free to follow me. Tag me in these conversations. I love to engage with you guys. Thank you so much for participating. Thank you so much for being a part of this. Man, as a speaker, as a trainer, as someone who loves developing people, it's been an honor to be a part of this. Tomorrow, I'm back, and I'll close this out, I believe. But yeah, you're in good hands with Caleb and Reagan. Make sure to tune back in a short 24 minutes. So go get some pretzels, go get a snack, some coffee, whatever, and come back ready to engage with Caleb about advocacy. The notes, Victoria, are going to be, again, in that box of resources that on the FFA page. So, and they're also linked in this chat as well, at the very top of the chat.
And hold on, before Jason, when you wrap up, just let me know, because I've got a little bit of housekeeping to round out the day.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to go ahead and see if I can unshare my screen here. I'll just, yeah, I think I'm good. Hey, thank you guys. If I can connect with you, social stuff's down at the bottom. Appreciate y'all very much. Y'all enjoy Caleb and Reagan, and I'll be with you guys tomorrow and participating the rest of the day.
Thanks again, Jason. It was really awesome to wrap our heads around what an essential question is and how the National FFA Advocacy module can take us through that. Really excited about what the rest of the afternoon holds. So like Jason mentioned, we will have our next session coming up at 2:15. You will have to log in. If you do need that information, it is on agday.org or FFA.org's advocacy page. Jason mentioned the post-session activity for free stuff. Make sure you take a screenshot of your quiz from the FFA module, which it's ffa.org, I think, Let's Advocate. We'll have that link up on our site, our resource site, after a while. If you are viewing this after March 27th, please know we are no longer accepting entries, so make sure you get your entries in by then. Social media, please make sure you take the next couple of days and share what you're doing on social media. Part of that whole broadening our reach and flattening the curve is using our social media handles. So #AgDay20, #SpeakAg. Also an opportunity to thank our sponsors on social media. CHS is the main sponsor of today. So you can use @CHS Inc. if you want to thank them on various social media platforms. So I really appreciate that. Next session information, Caleb is going to be talking about the importance of getting with our government officials. Caleb, do you want to add anything?
I'm super excited to be taking the next session here, following up with Jason. So we're going to take the advocacy and literacy model that Jason just did an awesome job talking about. We're going to put that into practice. So we're going to dive a little bit deeper into that in some ways and put some context behind that, and also talk about how our personal brand can really make a big difference in how we impact the future and of our advocacy efforts.
Awesome. Thank you, Caleb. Again, if you want to thank CHS, below the screen is where to send thank you notes directly to Annette. There's also Annette's email address. We'd really like for you to thank them for being part of today. Again, a special thank you to NAMA, ACA, AFA, 4-H, and MANNRS for being part of National Ag Day and our programming. It is 1:55. We will be back online at 2:15. If you need login information, please go to ffa.org or agday.org, and we will see you guys soon. Bye.